Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I am your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher. And today we've got another really exciting guest for all of you. But before we get into them, we first got to throw it up to longtime sponsors of the show, your friends and ours, No Judges Needed, your one-stop shop for all of your combat sports needs. I'm talking rash guards, I'm talking gis, I'm talking casual wear so that people outside the gym know you train in the gym, because all of this is about clout. Incredible designs on all their products at a really affordable price, but maybe COVID's got you thinking what was affordable isn't so affordable anymore. Well, we're here to help you out. We've partnered with them to use the promo code JJT. Type in the code JJT at checkout to knock off 20% off your purchase. It lets them know we sent you. You're helping us out. You're helping them out. You're helping yourselves out. You're helping the culture out. Do it for the culture. Once again, that's www.nojudgesneeded.com and use the promo code JJT for 20% off. All right. Ad read over. Today, it's an exciting day in the history of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast, because I think this is one of the first times we've had a fellow podcaster join the show, and not any podcaster. It's not Keenan. It's not anyone else. This is a guy who is a longtime compatriot of integral part of the show, Mr. Kevin Gallagher. So please join us in welcoming BJJ black belt, resident of the Sunshine State, and co-host of the Old Man Grappling Hour, Mr. Sonny Parlin. Sonny, thank you so much for joining us here today. How you doing?
My pleasure. It's so weird to be referred to as a podcaster, because that's like the last thing I identify as.
It's funny. It's funny. Yeah. There used to be a time when we kind of were like, yes, we got this podcast. Now it's like it's on the list of shit that I want to be affiliated with. It's way down.
Hey, you guys got some banger episodes, and I've been on a few. So
we've had some fun for sure, and then it gets dull, and then you want to take a break, and then you want to get back into it, and it's like jiu-jitsu, it's a love,
we have I'll tell you, I was talking to Sonny the other day. We got to get back to cranking one out we got to try to get 2 a week at least, if we can knock them out, because there's still, like, I had one of my blue belts that was at the Gracie Nationals, the Gracie American Nationals, or whatever the hell it is, the competition last weekend, and he told me that he was in line and he had his Gracie Tampa South rash guard on, and someone came up to him and said, "Oh my God, do you know Uncle Coach Kevin and Sonny Parlin? I love their podcast. I watch it all the time." So, like, it's weird because you don't think about it. You think we're just cranking this shit out, but there's literally a fan base out there that we've created in the jiu-jitsu community that dig the show. So, whatever, you got to keep them happy.
Yeah, it is. It's funny to think that way too, because like when we're doing the podcast, all I can think is, God, how badly are we coming off right now? Like,
who the fuck is watching it? It's my mom, because she's on all of them. She's the first one to click here. She's always the first space, and then you think to yourself, who is really enjoying watching me and Sonny Parlin slowly decline, the spiral down into
you're watching the Alzheimer's symptoms slowly emerge greater and greater every episode.
I think that's it.
I gotta take the wheel here for a second, just because I got a question for both of you guys. Now, I'm a young guy, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be young forever. I don't think I'm gonna get old. I don't think
that's accurate. 100%.
I've seen
never gonna get old.
No, yeah, like other people maybe, but I'm different.
Won't happen to you.
I'm built different. But I still am interested in what it's like to be an older cat in this very aggressive game. You guys named your show Old Man Grappling Hour. How does it feel to be an old man, and when did the old man strength kick in? That's the real one I want to know, because I've heard tales of that, and I want to know how it feels.
Sonny, you're the guest. I'll let you take this.
I'll take it just because I'm the oldest. I'm going to be 48 in less than a month. And
I forget about that.
You don't look a day over 60, Sonny.
You are an old fucker.
Thank you.
It's funny. I'm not going to lie to you. I think if people were to line me and you up together and to ask which one was 48, I think the consensus would agree that it was me. But that's on you. You look great.
That's really generous because I know for a fact anyone would say you guys both look like old bananas.
Nice,
so
nice.
We are.
Nice
That's exactly what we are. But there's just more pain involved. I mean, honestly, like I feel great when I'm on the mat and I'm training. I don't feel old because I'm in the mix. I'm sweating, my body's warm, and and I feel good. I can move. But then it's like 20 minutes after I'm done training, when you're sweating, and all of a sudden it starts getting cold, and you try to stand up. And you feel like goddamn Yoda and you need a cane. It really is like that. I mean, for me anyway. And I definitely think there's a difference between your early 40s and your late 40s, because I felt like in my earlier 40s, like I was still killing it, like when in terms of like going out and competing and feeling like I could like hang with younger guys and stuff. Not so much anymore. Like I feel like I can still hang with younger guys, but it's got to be all technique. You know what I mean? If I try muscling anything with these young guys, like Kyle or some of these brown belts that I have that are just killers, it's just not going to work out for me. So I got to be trickier now than I ever was, and it's a hard thing to do because when you're old, you got to learn new tricks. You know what they say about that. So it's just, for me, it's just more pain, really, honestly.
I agree with you 100%. I'm hitting 43. I'll be 44 at the end of January, end of next month. And I have noticed recently, this year in particular, obviously this year has sucked, but like recently, but right around before the COVID stuff, even towards the end of last year, that like any sense of care that I have deep inside of me to attain some kind of a goal as a competitor is just like, there's still something that drives me. I still have a little bit of a twisted notion inside of my brain that like I'd like to go win the ACC trials, or I'd like to win.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's an age-related thing, because there, you see old guys out there competing all the time in masters divisions, guys older than us. You see, like there was, I think, the Jiu-Jitsu Times had an article showing a couple of older women that they were in their 60s or 70s or something, and they were grappling.
The BJJ grandma, they call her.
Yeah.
Maria just wrote a good article.
So I don't think the drive to compete, it necessarily correlates with an age, but more of a personality thing. Because I feel the same way as you, Kevin. Like I don't have a drive to compete anymore. Like I felt that drive the most when I was a brown belt, and I felt like I had something to prove to get a black belt. So I competed a lot when I probably competed the most at brown belt. And then, I competed 3 times at black belt and just didn't really have didn't really care. So,
overall, when you start hitting that 44, 45 mark, I think there's in general a consensus complacency with life where you've kind of hit that midway mark. And you're starting to realize, like all these things that I thought were so important, the materialistic endeavors and even outside of jiu-jitsu. Obviously, as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, you would think you can still be a champion and those other things like that. But like just in general, like your economic pursuits, your ability to think you're going to climb that ladder in one way or another. Now you don't stop thinking about them because obviously you want to survive.
Right.
But there's a level of like, I'm happy. I got some food in my belly. I get to watch cable TV. I got a car I drive around. Things are going pretty good.
Yeah, that plus this year, was a very particularly challenging year just because I'm a gym owner. So, having to go through the pandemic, the shutdown, trying to get your COVID relief money and all that. And, basically I applaud any business that survived through this time, because you guys are the real heroes. And And my focus these days is more on running my business than it is on anything else. And not I don't want to get morbid here, but my father died last year, and he died of dementia. And so one of my main goals has been to keep my mind sharp. So while competing is a fun thing, and I do love competing. I mean, it's not something I look down on in any way. I think I have a great admiration for all jiu-jitsu competitors, but the things that are important to me now are keeping my mind sharp. So I do things like, I'm a software engineer by trade. So I do a lot of software engineering on the side. I started reteaching myself algebra. I started reading, I read freaking John Milton's Paradise Lost, which is like a classic 16th century poem. I'm doing things to try to keep my mind sharp because, like I said, my father died of dementia. So I want to just keep feeding my brain and building that muscle as I get older, and not get complacent with that, because that, to me, I don't want to be in his situation. I mean, I might not have a choice. I mean, it may happen, and if it does, it does. But I'm doing everything I can to pursue knowledge to keep my mind sharp.
There's something to be said for that. You can actually help to train the brain and focus on building that muscle memory or that memory aspects and the brain power aspects, by doing things like that, algebra and mathematics and reading. Jiu-jitsu is good for that too.
I would have to say that the mental activity that occurs during jiu-jitsu, like when you see older boxers that maybe have lost a step in real life compared to when they've been hitting the heavy, like the speed bag for a few seconds, and they get some of that vitality back in their speech and the way they conduct themselves. I think keeping yourself active in that kind of a way is one of the best things you could do for yourself, especially since jiu-jitsu is one of the few combat sports where you can go, again, said ad nauseum, but you can go full clip without getting CTE and getting dinged up and like really busting yourself up too bad.
Unless you roll a lot with white belts.
Yeah, right. It's game on. You kicked in the face, elbow in the face.
Yeah, you never know. And I've never rolled with him, and I don't want to incur his wrath. I feel like rolling with Wagner would probably you're leaving yourself open to some CTE there.
A little bit worse because he actually knows what he's doing.
No, I've rolled with Wagner. He's a sweetheart. Just don't compete against him.
That's true.
In the gym.
Better. Don't compete ever against Wagner.
Don't compete against Wagner. But train with him in the gym. He's a sweetheart, man. He'll roll with you. He'll flow. He'll let you lace him up so he can practice getting out of his positions and stuff like that. I remember rolling with Wagner. It was awesome experience, and it didn't hurt. So
I saw Wagner last weekend at the Fight to Win. He was there with his kids. His son is just a monster. His son is 14 years old, and
really?
Yeah, you remember his kids. His kids are little babies, right? And then his son, who was 14, was competing against someone that was 21, 22, and a grown man. And I was watching him up on stage, and I made the comment in the commentary. I said, "Oh, I haven't seen Wagner's son in a while because you know how it goes. Like you think you saw him 3 years ago or 8 years ago. In reality, it was only 2 years ago, or vice versa. So I'm picturing him as a little kid 7 years ago. When in reality, he just spiked up to being the giant 14-year-old that he is." And on the commentary, I said I thought he was like 16, 17 years old. And Wagner's like, "Bro, he's only 14. But dude, like he looks like a grown man. He's got big hairy legs. His arms are all like gnarled up and strong. He weighs about $165. He's a big kid, man."
It's funny. My son is 16, but he looks so much younger. He's so skinny. He's not even 100 pounds. It's weird
how that shit happens. Like some kids and some boys, or adults, like they hit their growth spurts in different periods. Like there are some kids that, like when I was always skinny and frail until I hit about 22. I went from probably about 170 pounds soaking wet, 175 pounds soaking wet. And then when I hit 22, like I just hit this immediate growth spurt and put on muscle mass and got big and bumped up to about 210, in like 2 years. It's insane how it happens. Some kids, like Wagner's son, hit it early. And, you never know. He could continue to grow, or he could just stop right now. And then maybe stop right now and hit another growth spurt later.
True story about Kevin. When he grows his hair long, he looks like Clay Guida. And when I first met Kevin, he was fat like I was. That's why we bonded. Because we were both fat.
Two fat guys.
And I remember telling Rob, I was like, is that like a fat Clay Guida over there? What's going on? And I guess somebody played a joke on Kevin one time.
Yeah, they got me good.
They had some kids going up to him asking him for his autograph and shit.
So some kid like Jeff Bailey, who's another one of our black belt instructors, he was at the gym. It was back when we had the cage on Henderson, and I was holding mitts for somebody in the cage, and this little kid walks up to me and he says, "Hey, man, you don't look like you can hit lightweight." And I'm like, "What?" I look at him and I look at Jeff Bailey in the back giggling, and I immediately know what the joke was. The kid told him I was Clay Guida, and he looks at me and he's like, "Bro, you weigh like this guy looks like he weighs like 230. There's no way he cuts down to fucking 155 pounds." So obviously I didn't want to hurt him, so I just took a picture with him. Hey, sure, whatever. I'm Clay Guida. He's fucking dickhead.
Oh my God.
He probably still has that picture.
The time I met Clay, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think that Clay Guida would know the difference. Like there's a picture of me hanging on the wall at GTS, which is actually a picture of Matt Arroyo, because Matt Arroyo fought in the UFC with his then girlfriend, fiance, Natalia, who's his wife now, at a club with Clay Guida holding their like behind their shoulders, right, with the long hair. There are people to this day that still think that is a picture of me. That still say, "When did you take the?" Right.
It's uncanny now that I'm seeing it. I can't.
I had my hair looks just like that too, a little bit darker. Kurt Osiander was the other one I would get all the time. I got the growling Kurt Osiander face when I have my long hair.
You look like the child of Clay Guida and Kurt Osiander. Jesus Christ.
The carpenter and the rhino.
I mean, hopefully your fingers are in better shape than Kurt's, but like that. This must mean everyone thinks your jiu-jitsu is absolutely lethal.
Clay was always a fun fight to watch, wasn't he?
He just fought recently, didn't he? He just fought not too long ago, I think. I forget.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's retired.
I don't think he's retired either. He just did well. I think he fought another, I guess you could call Clay a journeyman guy, but he's on top of the level of the journeyman guys. He's one of the guys that like Joe Lazone, they never really won a title, but for a fact they keep them around as like stepping stone fighters, because if you beat Clay Guida, that is a huge feather in your hat. If you beat Joe Lazone, that's a huge feather in your hat.
Yeah, that was one of the first stepping stones for like Brian Ortega, was when he beat Clay Guida. That was like a big thing where people were like, "Oh man, this guy's legit." He fought Bobby Green in June. He lost a unanimous decision. He's scheduled to fight Michael Johnson in February of 2021. So, Clay Guida is still going at it.
Wow.
That's good.
He's got to be getting older. He's got to be getting
up 39. There. He's 39, yeah.
Bobby Green, that was his last fight. He lost, went 3 rounds to a decision. So, like, you make it, you're lasting in a UFC fight with a seasoned UFC prospect, and you go 3 rounds, like you're still pretty damn good. I mean, like, people forget, like, I love how we've really locked in on the older guy theme of this episode, but everyone kind of wrote off Uriah Faber when he said, I want to come back for a few fights. And like, I know he lost his most recent one, but when he first came back, like he starched that guy. Like, he had the fastest knockout of his career. I forget who he fought, but everyone was like, "Holy crap, title shot." Well, there's a reason why these guys are legends, and old or not, it's someone like me or Sonny, like can tell you, like, we're a little bit older. We don't have the same fire in us, but it doesn't mean we're not dangerous. It doesn't mean that if you roll with me, like, I'm not, just because I've been through this hundreds and hundreds of times. Like, if you mess up this much and you give me this much room, I'm going to capitalize on it, because I've been doing this forever and ever and ever.
That's a great example, because think about JR, right? JR
is another one of our high-level black belts that never competes, but
nobody's heard of JR. Nobody in the jiu-jitsu world.
One of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners you've never heard of. Guy's amazing.
Hands down, one of the best guys out there. Mike Auerbach, another one. An ATT black belt, Division I wrestler. Nobody knows who he is. He's a doctor. Right? He trains real hard. And so do I. I train really hard. It's just I just don't have a fire in my belly to go out there and compete.
I might be misquoting this quote, but it feels very appropriate to the situation. And I don't know who said it, but it is always fear the old man in a young man's game.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's you be afraid of that old dude on the mats just because you don't know what kind of tricks they've been collecting.
It's a little bit better. It's always fear the old man that has survived in an old man sport, because if you've made it through long enough to freaking be an old man where young men die, like you deserve to. There's a reason why you made it that far. Trevor Garneau loves to tell that, use that quote.
I mean, I got a bit of comedy here for you guys. So I'm going to read you guys an actual email that I got from someone who is looking to fight MMA. Okay.
No.
These are always the best.
Oh no.
Yeah, don't worry. It's not long. It's very short. But there's no punctuation. So I'm going to read it as it was written to me. Okay. This is fun. Hey, sir, I have 2 questions for you. I'm 5'7/5'8" and average right now around 180, 190, and I want to fight middleweight and welterweight. Would you recommend it or me changing to a different weight class? And do gyms orchestrate amateur fights, or is it somebody else? And I would come to your gym, but at the moment I don't have the money.
Nice.
I want to know how he got your email.
That is the typical MMA inquiry. Or I'll get like some guy who's 50 and he'll call me up and he's like, I'm 50 years old and I want to get in the cage. And I'll be like, okay, word.
Yeah, well, we can get you there. I'm not going to say I think it's a good idea. I mean, if you really want to, we can work our way to get that to happen. If you want to check that off your bucket list and say you did it, like, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to say. I think we can find a better way to get that, the competitive juices out of you. But I don't think. But if you want to do it, I'll get you there. But I see that.
Yeah. So I took this text and I stuck it into this thing called the flesh reading analysis thing, and it's just it gives you the readability, and it came back. Bless you. It came back with a score where it didn't even give you a score. It just said, quote, impossible to comprehend.
That's great.
Okay, well, hang on. Let's for a second. Let's really look at the info. I hate to just tear this guy apart.
Let's get piece by piece.
Yeah. Okay. So
if he's watching this, he's gonna cry. You're either gonna have him at your house with a freaking machine gun.
All right. So we don't know. Let's assume this dude is in like decent shape. He's 5'1". You're either 5'7" or 5'8".
Yeah, so he doesn't know.
There's no one or the other. You don't grow.
That's what you say. Honestly, that's what you say when you're 5'6". So this guy's 5'6".
That's good.
This guy's 5'6". He's 185, 190.
No, he said 180 to 190.
Okay, so he's giving himself a 10 pound. Okay, so get a scale, homie. For real, do that. Because that 10 pounds, that's a lot in this sport you're looking to get into.
He says he wants to fight middleweight and welterweight and would you recommend it or me changing to a different weight class?
Well, first of all, I would recommend you come up with some money to pay me for my expert advice. That's the number one, because thank you very much. As much as I enjoy connecting with the people, I got shit to do.
Yeah.
And, if I answered an email back to every asshole that texted me and told me they were going to be in the UFC, I would run out of time. I wouldn't make any money.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I love these guys that think that they're doing my gym a favor.
Right.
By coming, I'm going to fight for you.
This guy is essentially he thinks he's got the inside track. Guys, I'm giving you the chance to buy in at Apple
right now.
in the 70s, before Macintosh.
No amateur record.
You get to buy in on Disney. You get to buy in on Pixar. I'm like a blue chip stock that you get to invest in for free, and I'm that guy. I'm going to give you that. So also he's one, unless he's a juiced up power lifter at one, if it's 5'7", 5'6", really, but 5'7", and 180, you're out of shape unless you're bulky as hell. So lose weight.
Dude, if you ever looked at the size of the welterweight division of guys that fight, never mind welterweight, middleweight, guys that actually fight middleweight, just go down the line. Middleweight fighters are 6'2", 6'3", massive people. If they're not 6'2", 6'3", they're Romero, which is, a world-class wrestler, Olympic wrestler with traps and blah, 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 all the way down. Right. Like, the actual size of someone that's fighting at 175 pounds for a welter, or 175 pounds for middleweight, what is it, 165 for welterweight, is going to be like they're walking around at close to 200 pounds every day, like more than that, probably 210 to cut down to middleweight, probably more like 200, 185, 195 to cut down to welterweight.
Like I'm 5'8". I cut to like 150 for grappling tournaments. Like that's the biggest weight cut I do. Realistically, if I wanted to be serious about it, I should be cutting down even further. I walk around at like 165, 170.
You just made me think of something, sir. Because you had asked the question before, what's it like to be an old man and being a grappler? Well, one of the things that happens, right, when you're in especially at the local, not at IBJJF because they got their shit together, right? So like IBJJF, ADCCs, those guys have their shit together. But like if you go to any local tournament and you enter into a master's division, it's basically like you're a master. All right, here's your division, right? They don't give a shit about weight, skill nothing. Level. It's just you're in there with.
There's only going to be about 5 in the whole room, and you just go at it.
Exactly. So basically, you don't even bother at that point. Like when you're in the Masters division, don't even bother cutting weight because it's pointless. You're going to end up fighting the biggest guy in the room anyway because it's going to be all they had. Well, he's the only guy. He's the only guy that signed up for the division besides you. I remember that shit happened to me at a Copa one time. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off that day, running, helping. I was involved in a lot of coaching and helping people out, and so I'm running here, running there, and so they call my name again, and I just figured they just needed something, and I run over and I see this giant motherfucker standing there, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad for the guy's got to fight him. So I said, what do you guys want? And they're like, yeah, we got your guy. And I'm like, what? That guy? And I remember it was black belt, and he's like, or I might have been a brown belt. I don't remember, but I remember them saying no leg locks. I'm like, no leg locks. What are you trying to do here? You're trying to get me killed?
Roll the dice and make shit up on the fly.
Was this in the gi or like?
No gi. It was no gi.
It was no gi, and they said no leg locks. That's crazy.
Yeah, because it was Masters.
I didn't realize leg locks were banned in Masters.
At this particular tournament, they were, for whatever reason.
Protecting the old man's knees, but then in reality, it's the only way the old man's going to
win. Yeah. I ended up losing on points 4-0 to this guy because I play my turtle game, baiting the back so that I can do a move, and the guy ended up getting a hook in. So, but at the end I was trying my best to triangle the guy. I was just throwing attack after attack after attack at him, but he knew the game. He scored and he stayed far enough away, and I was like but it was a good match, and it was character building because it made me feel like, okay, I can hang with somebody that big, So it was kind of neat in that regard. But
I've noticed that as an old man, as an older grappler, so much of my game, maybe you can relate to this a little bit too, Sonny. You talked about how like he was aware of the triangle and other things and did a good job of shutting your game down. Like so much of my game now is based upon just making my opponent's life difficult by anticipating what they're doing. You know what I'm talking about? Just waiting for things to happen, trying to be proactive,
being more of a counterpuncher,
kind of relaxing, playing a little more passive. Yeah. Simply because when you get older, when you're going against younger guys, you don't have, as much as you'd like to believe it, you just don't have the same explosion anymore. You're not going to be able to sit up for that dogfight single leg and be able to grind it through. This is not going to happen. So a lot of what happens is just, a lot of frustration.
If I played very offensively, like during a pro training session, I wouldn't make it through the pro training session.
No, you're done because you're not gonna be able to go bang for bang with someone half your age. It's not gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. So instead, I do like you do. I try to be tricky. I play the counter puncher. I let the other guy wear himself down while I take rests and grapple in a different way now, just because
one of the cool things of being an older grappler or just an older person in general is that your life experience helps you to understand on a grand spectrum how things happen, right? You get the whole idea. Remember when everybody remembers when they were young and you were just full of piss and vinegar and you felt like you could take on the world and anything you wanted to accomplish, you could put your mind to it. Well, you just start to go through life. Every once in a while, you start to realize that not every endeavor you ever tried to work through was going to work out. So you have to be a little more strategic about things and kind of take things a little bit different and be okay with the wins and losses and the ebb and flows and the up and downs. And the more you start to understand that now when you're grappling, you go against these young bucks, because when you're young, everything is boom. I'm jamming. I'm going right for that guard pass. I'm going right for that leg lock. I'm going to bang, 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 bang. And when you start to think, oh, shit, I'm not finishing all these things, everything that work out my way, you get that discouraged feeling. Well, like, as old men, like, we have been beaten down and broken down. like counting at our asses, kicked in the nuts, in the dirt, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. We don't, that doesn't bother us anymore. When I go for a leg lock and I miss it, it's like, all right, whatever. I'll just fucking chill here for a second.
Yeah.
You don't get the same discouragement out of things.
No, for sure. As a matter of fact, I felt my first bit of discouragement in a couple of weeks ago at this point, when I went and got tested for coronavirus and it came back positive. And I remember I had like a mini panic attack for about 5 minutes, and then I was okay. But I was like, shit, I'm old now. What's this mean? Am I going to die? Ended up being really
like
how
your corona fucking
COVID
experience was.
So it's the way hindsight's always 20/20. So the way I remember it now is I went to a pro training on Saturday, on a Saturday, and the next day I just felt really run down and fatigued, and I just kind of chalked it up to the fact that I had a really hard pro training the day before, I mean, and so I didn't think much of it. Right. But I rolled like shit that day. Just didn't feel myself. I remember when I got home, I had to take Advil because my body was aching so much. And now that I look back on it, I realize that it wasn't the rolling session. It was definitely COVID. So I ended up waiting to get tested because I didn't realize that I took my temperature. I had no temperature. And so I didn't think that I was having I didn't think I had COVID or any kind of sickness, really, because I didn't have any really crazy symptoms outside of fatigue and feeling tired and achy. So I just kind of thought, maybe my body is telling me it's time for a rest. So I took most of the week off, and unfortunately I rolled on Thursday. On that Thursday, and, with 3 guys, two of whom tested negative and have never tested positive. One guy did get the Rona from me, but I remember the reason why that I went and got tested was because I bit into some toast with butter, and thinking, oh, I love toast with butter, and it tasted like nothing. I didn't taste anything.
Yeah, I lost my taste briefly. It only lost it for like a day, and it came right back. But the few meals I ate that day, it's creepy. Like you're just chewing shit in your mouth. Like this is supposed to taste like spaghetti, right. And it just tastes. It's just like warm goo in my mouth. It's fucking gross.
Yeah. So that's what was my first clue that I might have coronavirus. So I went immediately, and I went and got my test, and it turned out to be positive. But the doctor said, hey, go grab some vitamin D3, some vitamin C, and some zinc. Take it every day. Build your immune system up, rest. And I did that. And I just kind of isolated. I felt like again, the fatigue stayed with me, but within a week and a half, I was rearing to go again, and I'd say by like the 12th day into it, I was 100%, and I actually went and got my negative. I went and got a test again, one day shy of a week from testing positive because I felt fine, and I got my negative test. So, it wasn't a terrible experience for me. It lasted about a week and a half, maybe a week and 4 days or something, and yeah, the worst thing that happened was just the fatigue and stuff. But my wife read, and I don't know where she read this, and I don't want to give out, false information or whatever about coronavirus. So do your own research. But she read that the people who get the symptom of not being able to taste food usually have a better time with the coronavirus overall than the people who don't get that symptom. So in other words, it seems like it attacked my nervous system and my brain because I was having those kinds of symptoms rather than it attacking my respiratory system. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I'm glad for that because, it could have been much worse, obviously. But that's one of the scariest things about this virus is that it's like you don't know really what it's up to until it hits you and you're going through it. And then it's like, okay, this is the hand I've been dealt. Let me deal with it however I can. And for some of those people, obviously the hand is very terrible. Some people have an awful, awful time with it. They end up with permanent lung scarring and stuff. And those are the people that live. And, of course, many people have died from it. So it's a weird disease in how it affects people so differently. That's the thing that scares me about it. That's why I had like a 5-minute panic attack when I tested positive, because I was like, all right, is this thing going to kill me? Is it going to be a cold? What's it going to be?
That's what creeped me out the most about it too, is that like people that say, oh, it's just like a flu. Like, yes, it transmits in a similar manner as a flu, and some of the symptoms are flu-like. But I will tell you firsthand, like what I had was not the flu. Like I had feverish feelings for a couple days and kind of an achy, like flu-like feeling for about 3 or 4 days, and then followed by about 2 weeks of just agonizing. Like I would get nauseous. I'd get super, super lethargic.
I got nauseous too.
Energy, brain fog. Like I was having problems writing. Like I had to quit writing for a couple weeks. I couldn't read anything. Like my brain would just not be able to compute and follow along with anything. And it's that feeling of, wow, this is not anything I've ever had before. This is a different sickness than anything I've ever had before.
See, for me, it wasn't like that. It did. For me, it was like I've had colds that were worse. And you know what's happening? This is weird. I never got a temperature, not even the day that I tested positive. My temperature was normal the whole time, which is strange because that's supposed to be like the telltale sign, like that's why everybody bought the temperature checkers and the rectal thermometers.
And that's the other thing that makes it creepy is that, what they check for the temperature, they check for everything. Is that the idea that, you didn't even realize you had it until you bit into that toast and didn't taste the butter. So you could have been out. Who knows how many people you came in contact with.
Right.
Which is the frightening part of why, again, I know how your views on not shutting the world down. And I agree with you. I don't think we should completely shut the whole world down at all. But there are definitely precautionary measures that we can take to help quell the spread that a lot of people are just completely unabashedly against, that I feel like it's just a little bit silly. And the reason why it's silly is because of that. Like you were asymptomatic for quite some time, and who knows how many people were infected because of that without even being your fault.
Yeah. Well, I know for a fact that I infected one person. I don't know how I got infected. So I feel bad, but I know the guy's young and he said he's having an easy time with it. So that's a good thing, but I do feel bad that I did get someone sick unknowingly. But it's a tricky thing, man. I wasn't showing any symptoms. I had no temperature. I was like, man, I'm just tired, and and of course, no taste. That was the telltale sign, and boom, the Rona.
Yeah, I mean, you have pancreatitis too, so you were probably even more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't currently have it, but I do. I'm susceptible. I'm going to get checked out for that, by the way. Like what I'm gonna see if there's some kind of medication or some kind of supplement that I can get on that will help me prevent getting it more in the future.
The flare-ups.
Yeah, because the flare-ups basically happen when I go off diet and I start eating like shit, and it's real easy for me to get it now. So I have to stay on diet. I can't eat shit food. I can't eat.
Yeah, I've known people that have had pancreatitis, and it's a complete you got to change your life. You got to change.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah,
you have to change your
honestly,
diet.
guys. I think this is a really good conversation for me, and so now I can tell you guys that those 5 pizzas I have waiting for me after this podcast will be the last for a while. I'm telling you, man, you got to make the changes early. You know what I'm saying? So I'll cut back to 2 pizzas at a time. And just maybe eating an apple once a week.
I used to be morbidly obese, and I got to tell you, man, like no one ever told me. Like no one ever told me you shouldn't have McDonald's for breakfast, Dunkin' Donuts for breakfast, McDonald's for lunch, and Chinese food for dinner every night, and then snack in between that stuff. Wake up at 2 a.m, eat a fucking Ben and Jerry's half pint, and go back to bed. No one ever told me that you shouldn't do that. I never went through that class in high school, probably because I dropped out of high school, but I never got the information. And the next thing I know, I was fat.
It really is true.
I do think it's important to know that people's understanding of nutrition's probably changed a lot since when you were in school. I think a lot of people are having the benefit of a lot more research.
When you were in school back in the 60s, was it, Sonny? Back in early 70s?
No, I was born in 73, and I went to school and grew up mostly in the late 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And back when Motley Crue was king,
there was no such thing as nutrition. You just whatever the fuck your parents made, you ate it, and that was good.
Yeah, it was like microwave pizzas,
lard, or microwave
Hungry Man
food.
dinners.
Right, exactly. And
those Hungry Man dinners, they actually put on the box 1 pound of food. Yeah. It's right. like that's an achievement or something.
Exactly. I'll tell you too that Kev, just for your understanding here, Bubba, I don't know what kind of advanced metabolism you think you have, but that shit quits working.
Oh no,
27.
Knowing my family, I got about a good 2 months before everything kind of shuts down for the rest of my life.
When you're a kid, you're used to eating, whatever the hell you want to eat, and
I could eat Tupperware, and my body would deal with it.
Exactly. But when you get a little bit older, you think you can continue to eat that way, and your metabolism just doesn't freaking burn it off on its own anymore. That's when you start getting the problems. You're gonna have to look about that. Get on that quick. I got one thing I wanted to talk about before we go. This is something that we'll all be kind of cool about. Involves our sponsor. I know he's gonna listen to this, so I'll give him a little shout out. I'm pretty excited for him. Mr. Troy Regano is going to be inducted into the state of Florida Martial Arts Hall of Fame next Friday.
Oh, no shit.
Cool. Yeah, pretty excited about him for all his contributions as a sponsor and his help he's done to athletes. I'm actually going to be the one that gives his presentation speech, his I'm talking about what do they call it? The induction speech. Exactly. So I'm pretty excited about that. I guess.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's a big deal. It's funny because Troy, Sonny knows Troy. He the first thing he said, he was like, I ain't doing this shit. I don't deserve this. What is this ridiculous? I don't who the fuck am I? But it's everyone that knows Troy and knows the amount that he has done to so many fighters and so many fight promotions, thanklessly. Because trust me, as much as we'd like to think that, Troy is rolling in the dough from all these no judges needed promotionals. like he is not making a ton of money from the no judges needed brand.
I love when people think I'm rich because I run a gym.
I know. It's like,
it's like, motherfucker.
Wait a minute, Sonny. No, you don't understand. Joe, remember when Joe Rogan went on the show and was like, guys, you just need to master jiu-jitsu, own a gym, and get 100 students, and then you could be set for life.
Easier said than done, my man.
Oh, man.
But Troy Regano next Friday, inducted into the Florida Martial Arts Hall of Fame. Well deserved. Super excited.
Where is that? Is that Tampa?
It's going to be at the JCC if you want to come, which is the little right by Gracie Tampa South. It's black tie, so I got to rent a tuxedo and I got to it's a whole freaking thing. Like I'm laughing because Ralph Garcia took over this year. And I think it turned into black tie after Ralph Garcia took over. Like, what the fuck? You're dealing with a bunch of fucking like MMA, freaking jiu-jitsu, boxing nerds. Or, talking about your
guys can't afford their membership. They're gonna go out and get a fucking tent. Sorry, coach. I have to be late on my membership dues this month.
I went to Men's Warehouse and I rented a prom tux for this.
This is further proof to show my love for Troy. This shit ain't gonna be cheap, and I am the cheapest motherfucker on the fucking planet. So I'm throwing the cheese down because I love Troy to go out.
Kev's so cheap he put a Big Mac on layaway.
Oh yeah, that's right.
No, Troy is a good guy, man.
Awesome.
He'll send you stuff out of the blue. He sent me gis and like rash guards and shit just out of the blue for no reason. Yeah. And I've always appreciated it. And he deserves that, man. He's been running that company a long time. And he's done a lot for a lot of fighters. And it's like, I think he's been very successful. I mean, I know he's probably not rolling in the dough, but it is pretty cool to see like when No Judges Needed first came out, it was all Gracie Tampa guys wearing his shit.
Right.
So it's like if you saw No Judges Needed, you knew it was a Gracie Tampa guy. Right. But now it's not like that. Guys from different teams everywhere are wearing No Judges Needed.
Nationwide, you can see there's plenty of people. I go to other cities all the time, and I'll always run into, oh wow, that's a No Judges Needed rash guard. Or you go to tournaments, that guy's wearing No Judges Needed rash guard, or No Judges Needed short, or spats, or something like that. So.
Yeah. So his brand identity is definitely climbing. I mean, it's probably not where he wants it to be yet, but I think if he keeps grinding, he'll be like another Atama or
I personally feel that the massive fanfare and representation from the Old Man Grappling Hour is part of the reason why the No Judges Needed brand has become established. And
I don't know. I feel like they got more of real. No offense. I honestly, for some reason, I feel like they got more of a bump from the Jiu-Jitsu Times. I feel like those guys really did a lot to.
We can laugh about this because I can't tell you the number of times Troy has sent me emails. Hey, you think you can have Kevin put the website across the bottom a little bit bigger because we haven't got a whole lot of people buying stuff using the Jiu-Jitsu Times. So you fuckers, all you Jiu-Jitsu Times watchers, go buy a damn shirt, man. The guy's in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it.
See, I'm very self-deprecating. When we do Old Man Grappling Hour podcast, I just feel like we're hurting his brand by.
I think it might be.
You know what I mean? Like the shit that comes out of our mouths sometimes, we're just, it's like, why would anybody want to be affiliated with us?
Why would it to our show? It is. Some of our shows are just massive clusterfucks.
Oh my God. We've gone down the toilet sometimes and I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God, there's 50 minutes left.
Right. That's when Sonny just starts to fuck with me. Sonny will just like poke at me and get me going and watch me kind of self-destruct in the corner. It's classic podcasting.
I still think, sorry about that. I still think the funniest time was when we had Silver Fox on.
Silver Fox on. That was amazing.
And Silver Fox is just talking about his childhood and how he grew up in a communist country or something like that. And I'm just kind of like, I'm like half zoned in, half zoned out because it's an interesting story, but it's like, it's just whatever, So
communist dictatorship. Yeah, we get it, man.
But all of a sudden, I look over at Kevin. Kevin's like violently writing on a notebook, and he's like sweating and he's like shaking a little bit, and so now I'm like looking back at Kevin, looking at Silver Fox. I'm trying to pay attention to Silver Fox and trying to figure out what the fuck Kevin's doing. Kevin holds up this notebook that's got all these drawings of penises and shit on it, but right in the middle, in big letters, it said Silver Fox. That's all it said. And I was like, I didn't get it. So I just kind of looked at Kevin like, yeah, that's what we're talking to. Like
that was back when we were doing. That was back when we were doing our freeform shows, our call-in shows, and some of them got nutty because it would just be weird because you'd have a lineup of people across the bottom. You'd have people up on top, and a lot of times their like political views and agendas weren't in alignment. And Silver Fox was going off on a little tangent, and then at the bottom I've got like my buddy who runs the like liberal freaking like communist party down the street, like coming on to talk to us about like like his utopia lifestyle. And I'm already seeing the writing on the wall.
I think that was the same episode too. I think that was the same episode too, where William Murphy pulled out his Batman revolver,
that fucking cannon gun. You fuckers have made my life hell so many times.
Let me ask you: Do you remember the original I know you're younger, but do you remember the original Batman with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
So
where he's got the long gun and he shoots the plane.
So he pulls out the revolver from his pants, but
it looked like that.
But it was just really, really long barrel on it. And for some reason, William Murphy had one of those things, and he decided to bring it onto the podcast and show it off. So we got Silver Fox over here talking about his railing against communism on, because that's how he grew up or whatever. And then you got William Murphy with his Batman gun, right. Kevin over here going fucking crazy. It was just off like my buddy rail.
Who's really cool. He was actually a very cool, interesting cat that I had tried to get on for a long time. But long story short, like he's a big activist. Like he writes for NPR. He goes to the climate change concords and all this stuff. He goes to the G6 meeting, covers it for NPR, does all this stuff like that. And I know him. He's a little bit of a reaction. It was just funny. I was seeing the fucking impending doom of conflict, and I don't want to piss Silver Fox off because I love the guy. I want to piss William Murphy. William Murphy can take it. He don't give a shit. At the same time, I'm trying not to get in the crossfire. It was just fun. Some of those open format shows were definitely some of our best work. We had a lot of fun with those things. That was early COVID days.
Oh man! Well, are we gonna be seeing any more episodes of the old?
We took a little break.
We took a break, but I think we'll come back in 2021 and we'll make some appearances and
for sure.
We'll line up some interviews.
Our fans demand it.
I got Chewy coming in for another seminar.
Chewy's great.
In probably in March in Florida, and we maybe we'll interview him again or something like that. Maybe that will be our
the three of us in the room again.
That kind of thing. But so who knows? Who knows what's gonna? We're definitely not done. We know that much. We don't have a plan to. We don't have a date or a plan yet. But
you never
we
know.
Ain't going anywhere.
Could be 3 o'clock could be 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. Could be 6 o'clock on a Sunday. You never know.
Just
when we feel like, hey, let's pop up a show. Just keep an eye out for the old man.
All right. Well, I'm good on questions. Kev, you good?
Nah, man, no problem. Just FYI, I don't think it's gonna come out in time. But if you do see this, I'm competing this weekend, tomorrow night, fight to win. It won't be out in time, but good luck to myself.
Yeah, we will retroactively. We will either be laughing at how bad you beefed it, we'll be laughing at the people that put you in as an underdog, which I think is really funny.
Yeah.
It's going to be good because we got a lot of Gracie Tampa guys.
Lots of guys.
I think Tony Way's fighting. I think
there's about 9 of us on there. 9 Gracie Tampa guys on there.
Yeah. So I think I'll be tuning in for that one because I want to.
Billy Q, friend of the show, is fighting. Obviously. Fighting this weekend too. He's got a good big fight against Gavin. What the hell's his last name? Gavin something. Whatever.
Gavin Newsom.
I almost said Gavin. I almost said Gavin Newsom and knew it wasn't the right name. But Billy Q's got a big fight.
I wonder who takes that.
Between Billy Q and Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet on Billy Q for that.
Oh, I think there'd be a lot of viewership for that fight too. There's a lot of people would like to see Gavin Newsom get the shit kicked out of him by a UFC fighter. We could definitely make a buck on that. We could donate the proceeds to like COVID relief or some shit. We could probably solve the pandemic ourselves. If only Gavin Newsom was really willing to put his money where his mouth is, or his money where his mouth is, right?
He's putting his money going out to like eat at restaurants and going on vacation. So I don't know if he's got the money.
No comment.
All right, hey Kit, I will probably edit this part down.
I know that's right. Kids in California, we can't have that.
Yeah, I think
the Gestapo will kick his door down.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. So, Sonny, honestly, man, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was good to finally get on this podcast and chat with you guys. Getting the recognition I deserve, and
honestly, we haven't, we've had some big names.
This guy created me. I would be nothing without Sonny Parlin. Thank you for all you've done for me, Sonny. Next year, we're putting you in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, and I'll do your induction speech too.
I won't question it either. Like
I'm calling Half right now. Hey, we got to get just switch him out with Sonny, and nobody will know the difference.
Big names, honestly, but we haven't made it until now, and I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome, guys. I know this episode will bring you fame. So,
my mom and a few other people watched.
Shout out to the biggest fan of the show, Mama Gallagher. We all love you. Well, all right. Well, I think that'll be time to bring it in and close things out. So I will just say to you, our listeners and viewers, that this has been another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I have been your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher, and special guest, Mr. Sonny Parlin. For anyone who has not been exposed yet to the Old Man Grappling Hour, go look them up on all sound platforms or wherever podcast. iTunes. They got a YouTube channel. Go check
the YouTube channel. That helps us the most. Go like the YouTube
channel. They got some merch.
Keep your expectations low, okay?
like the YouTube channel and lower your expectations.
Yeah, and when you're done with the weird old guys, you can come back here, and young Kevin's still here. I'm never gonna get old, so you don't gotta worry about that. All right, but yeah, this has been a fun one, and we cannot wait to have Mr. Parlin back at some point in the future. And of course, best of luck to Mr. Kevin Gallagher in his match tomorrow evening at Fight to Win. Retroactive. Yeah, we're all going to be watching. I'm going to be covering it for the Jiu-Jitsu Times, and I'm going to be the main event. I don't care what the main event is. You're going to be the story. So, to everybody out there getting ready for the Christmas time, please stay safe. Stay up on your testing and try and social distance when you can. Got to keep those gyms safe. So, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.